At some point in our lives, most of us have felt the weight of isolation. It's a feeling that sneaks in when we least expect it, often during moments of struggle, failure, or transition. We look around and think, why does it feel like I'm the only one dealing with this? This thought can be paralyzing, as it convinces us that our pain, doubts, or insecurities are unique and worse, that they separate us from everyone else. But this feeling is real, and as overwhelming as it is one of the most universal human experiences. Isolation, in its essence, isn't about being physically alone. It's about feeling emotionally disconnected. Even when surrounded by others, it's the belief that no one else truly understands what we're going through. Whether it's a personal failure, a relationship struggle, or simply grappling with the complexities of life, the sensation of being set apart from others can make us retreat further into ourselves. We think if no one else is feeling this way, then maybe something is wrong with me. What makes this feeling so insidious is its ability to feed itself. When we believe we're alone, we hesitate to share our experiences. We keep our struggles hidden, fearing judgment or rejection. The more we hide, the more isolated we feel. And the more isolated we feel, the more isolated we feel, the more we hide. It's a cycle that traps us in silence. Shame often plays a significant role here. It whispers to us that our struggles are a reflection of our flaws. It convinces us that we need to keep up appearances, to show the world that we have it all together, even when we don't. But here's the truth: the very things that make us feel isolated are often the things that connect us most deeply to others. The details of our struggles may vary, but the emotions they evoke, fear, sadness, disappointment, longing, are universal. We all know what it feels like to doubt ourselves, to question our worth, or to wonder if we're on the right path. These feelings aren't unique to any one person. They're part of the shared experience of being human. What we often fail to realize is that the people around us are likely carrying their own burdens, their own silent battles. We live in a world where it's easy to see the highlight reels of others' lives, but not the behind-the-scenes struggles. Social media, casual conversations, and even the way we present ourselves to the world can create a facade of perfection. This makes it even harder to believe that others might be wrestling with the same doubts and fears that we are. Yet, when we take the brave step of sharing our feelings, something remarkable happens. That sense of isolation begins to dissolve. Opening up about our struggles can be terrifying, but it's also liberating. It creates space for connection and empathy. When someone responds with, "I felt that way too," it's as though a heavy weight has been lifted. In that moment, we realize we're not as alone as we thought. These moments of connection are powerful because they remind us of our shared humanity. They reveal that isolation is a lie, a pervasive one, but a lie nonetheless. The more we share, the more we see that others have walked similar paths. This doesn't make our struggles any less real or significant, but it does remind us that we're part of a larger story. Breaking free from the grip of isolation requires courage, but it's worth it. It's a step toward recognizing that our experiences, no matter how unique they may feel, are part of a broader, universal tapestry of human emotion. And when we embrace that truth, we find not only connection, but also strength. Shame is a complex and deeply personal emotion that touches nearly every human being at some point. It is an invisible weight, a force that hides in the background of our lives, shaping how we see ourselves and interact with the world. Unlike guilt, which arises from a specific action we regret, shame is far more pervasive. It whispers there's something wrong with you, making us feel fundamentally flawed, unworthy, or broken. Shame thrives in the shadows, and its power lies in its ability to convince us to stay silent, to hide our true selves, and to retreat into isolation. When shame enters our lives, it often disguises itself as self-protection. It tells us not to share our failures, weaknesses, or pain, because doing so might expose us to ridicule or rejection. It's the voice that says, if people knew the real you, they wouldn't accept you. And so we build walls around our vulnerabilities, carefully curating the parts of ourselves that we show to others. We smile when we're hurting. We nod along when we're confused. We pretend to have it all together, even when we're falling apart inside. The irony of shame is that while it isolates us, it also makes us believe that our experiences are unique. We think no one else has felt this way, or I'm the only one who struggles like this, but the truth is, shame is one of the most universal emotions. It's a thread that runs through countless human experiences, connecting us in ways we often fail to see. Whether it stems from mistakes, societal pressures, or deeply rooted insecurities, Shame is something we all grapple with at different points in our lives. One of the most damaging aspects of shame is its ability to silence us. It convinces us to suppress our stories, to bury our pain, and to hide our struggles. This silence, however, doesn't protect us, it only amplifies our feelings of isolation and unworthiness. The less we talk about our shame, the more it festers, growing stronger in the dark. It becomes a self-perpetuating cycle. The more ashamed we feel, the more we hide. And the more we hide, the more ashamed we feel. Shame is often rooted in societal expectations and cultural norms. From a young age, we're taught what is acceptable and what is not, how to behave, how to succeed, and even how to look. When we fall short of these standards, shame steps in to remind us of our perceived failures. It tells us we're not smart enough, attractive enough, successful enough, or lovable enough. These messages can come from anywhere: family, friends, the media, or even ourselves. And over time, they can shape how we view our worth. Despite its power, shame can be dismantled. The first step is to bring it into the light. Shame cannot survive when it's exposed. Talking about our feelings, sharing our stories, and naming our vulnerabilities are acts of courage that weaken shame's hold on us. It might feel uncomfortable at first, but it's also liberating. When we open up, we often discover that others have faced similar struggles. Their empathy and understanding remind us that we're not alone, and that our worth isn't defined by our perceived shortcomings. Brené Brown, a leading researcher on shame, often says that shame needs three things to grow exponentially: secrecy, silence, and judgment. By refusing to keep our shame secret, by breaking the silence, and by seeking environments free of judgment, we begin to reclaim our power. Vulnerability is the antidote to shame. It's through vulnerability that we connect with others, build resilience, and embrace our imperfections. Shame's power diminishes when we challenge the narratives it feeds us. When we remind ourselves that our worth isn't tied to our mistakes or failures, we begin to see ourselves more clearly. We are not defined by the moments we're ashamed of. We are defined by how we rise, how we learn, and how we continue to show up. By confronting shame and choosing connection over isolation, we take the first steps toward freedom and self-acceptance. Vulnerability is often misunderstood. Many people equate it with weakness, associating it with moments of failure, uncertainty, or emotional exposure. But in reality, vulnerability is one of the most profound sources of strength and connection we have as human beings. It is the willingness to show up as we are, to be honest about our feelings, and to let others see the parts of ourselves we might otherwise hide. While it can feel risky or even terrifying, vulnerability has the power to transform our relationships, our communities, and most importantly, our relationship with ourselves. At its core, vulnerability is about authenticity. It means stepping out from behind the mask we wear to the world, the mask of perfection, control, or indifference, and saying, "This is me." It's acknowledging that we don't have all the answers, that we've made mistakes, and that we have fears, doubts, and insecurities. But rather than diminishing us, this honesty can deepen our connections with others. When we're vulnerable, we invite people to see us fully, and in doing so, we create space for real, meaningful relationships. One of the most significant aspects of vulnerability is its role in fostering empathy and connection. When we open up about our struggles or emotions, we allow others to relate to us on a human level. They see themselves in our experiences, and this shared understanding bridges gaps that might otherwise divide us. A simple "me too" in response to someone's vulnerability can be incredibly powerful. It reminds us that we're not alone and that our experiences, no matter how isolating they may feel, are often shared by others. Vulnerability also requires courage. It means taking the risk of being judged, misunderstood, or rejected. It's not about oversharing or seeking validation, but about being honest in moments that matter. This honesty can feel like stepping into the unknown, not knowing how others will respond. But even when vulnerability feels uncomfortable, it's an act of bravery. It's saying, "I'm willing to take this risk because being real matters more than protecting myself from discomfort." In addition to strengthening our connections with others, vulnerability is essential for personal growth. It's through vulnerability that we learn, adapt, and build resilience. For example, when we admit to a mistake, we create an opportunity to grow from it. When we share our dreams or fears, we open the door to support and encouragement. Vulnerability teaches us to embrace uncertainty and to trust that we can handle whatever comes next. It's not about eliminating risk, but about recognizing that the rewards of authenticity are worth the discomfort. Creativity and innovation also thrive on vulnerability. Think about the artists, writers, and innovators who put their work into the world, knowing it might be criticized or misunderstood. They take the leap because they believe in the importance of their vision. Similarly, in our own lives, vulnerability allows us to take chances, whether it's starting a new project, pursuing a relationship, or trying something unfamiliar. Without vulnerability, we remain stuck in our comfort zones, unable to explore our full potential. However, it's important to note that vulnerability doesn't mean exposing ourselves indiscriminately. It's about choosing the right time, place, and people to share with. Trust is a critical component of vulnerability, and it's important to discern who has earned the right to hear our story. When we choose wisely, vulnerability becomes an exchange of trust that strengthens bonds rather than leaving us feeling exposed or regretful. Ultimately, the power of vulnerability lies in its ability to transform fear into connection, doubt into courage, and isolation into belonging. It reminds us that we don't have to go through life alone, pretending to be invulnerable or perfect. By showing up as our authentic selves, we inspire others to do the same. And in that shared space of openness and honesty, we find the strength to move forward together, knowing that our imperfections are not weaknesses, but bridges to understanding and love. Breaking the silence is an act of courage that demands both vulnerability and resilience. It involves confronting the fears and doubts that keep us quiet and choosing to speak out, even when it feels risky or uncomfortable. Silence often stems from fear of judgment, rejection, or the possibility that our words will go unheard or misunderstood. Yet the decision to break that silence can be one of the most powerful steps we take, not only for ourselves, but for others who might be struggling in the same quiet darkness. The silence we carry is often born from a sense of shame or inadequacy. When we feel we're the only ones facing a particular challenge or emotion, it's tempting to retreat inward, believing that staying quiet is safer than revealing our true selves. But silence doesn't heal, it isolates. It creates a wall between us and the people who might otherwise offer understanding, support, and connection. The longer we stay silent, the heavier our burdens become, and the more isolated we feel. Breaking the silence requires us to confront the voice in our minds that says, no one will understand or they'll think less of you. It's about pushing past the doubt that tells us our stories don't matter, or that our struggles make us weak. In reality, sharing our experiences is an act of strength. It takes bravery to stand in the light and say, this is my truth. The decision to speak out is often transformative. When we share our thoughts, emotions, or struggles, we create the opportunity for connection. Someone might respond with, I felt the same way, or thank you for sharing this, I needed to hear it. These moments remind us that we're not alone, and they validate our experiences. They also encourage others to break their own silence, creating a ripple effect of authenticity and understanding. Breaking the silence isn't just about sharing struggles, it's also about naming the things we care about and standing up for what we believe in. Whether it's addressing an injustice, advocating for change, or simply expressing a deeply held belief, speaking up can inspire others to do the same. Courage is contagious, and when one person dares to use their voice, it can embolden others to find their own. Of course, breaking the silence isn't without its challenges. It can feel like stepping into the unknown, not knowing how others will react or whether our words will have the impact we hope for. There might be moments of doubt or fear, but it's important to remember that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to act in spite of it. One of the most important aspects of breaking the silence is finding the right people to share with. Not everyone is prepared to hold space for our truths, and that's okay. Choosing trusted individuals, supportive communities, or safe environments can make all the difference. These are the places where our voices are most likely to be met with compassion, understanding, and encouragement. It's also worth remembering that breaking the silence doesn't always mean speaking loudly or to a large audience. Sometimes it's a quiet conversation with a close friend, a letter written to someone we trust, or even journaling our thoughts for ourselves. The act of naming our truth, whether aloud or in writing, is a form of release that can help us begin to heal and move forward. Breaking the silence has the power to shift not only our own lives, but also the lives of those around us. It challenges the stigma that keeps so many of us quiet, reminding us that our voices matter. It shows others that it's okay to share their truths too, and that vulnerability is a bridge to connection rather than a barrier. Ultimately, the courage to break the silence is about reclaiming our power and stepping into our authenticity. It's a declaration that our experiences, emotions, and perspectives are valid and worthy of being heard. By speaking out, we take the first step toward healing, connection, and change, and we remind ourselves and others that no one should have to carry their burdens alone. Building empathy and community is a fundamental aspect of creating meaningful connections and fostering a sense of belonging. It requires us to step outside of ourselves, to listen deeply, and to approach others with compassion and understanding. At its heart, empathy is about putting ourselves in someone else's shoes, imagining their experiences, and acknowledging their emotions. When we make this effort, we lay the foundation for stronger, more inclusive communities where individuals feel seen, valued, and supported. Empathy begins with listening, not just hearing words, but truly listening to understand. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to fall into the habit of half-listening, waiting for our turn to speak, or making assumptions about others based on limited information. But empathy demands more of us. It calls for active listening, where we set aside our judgments and focus entirely on what the other person is sharing. This kind of listening requires patience and openness, but it also signals to the speaker that their voice matters. When we practice empathy, we challenge ourselves to see the world through someone else's perspective. This doesn't mean we have to agree with everything they say or feel, but it does mean recognizing the validity of their experiences. For example, if someone shares their struggles, instead of offering solutions or minimizing their pain, we can respond with, "That sounds really hard." I'm here for you. These small acts of acknowledgement and support can have a profound impact, reminding people that they are not alone. Empathy also requires us to confront our own biases and assumptions. Each of us views the world through the lens of our unique experiences, but these lenses can sometimes limit our understanding of others. Building empathy means recognizing these limitations and being willing to learn from perspectives that differ from our own. It's about asking questions, being curious, and embracing the discomfort that can come with challenging our preconceived notions. When empathy is practiced collectively, it becomes a powerful tool for building community. Communities thrive when their members feel connected, supported, and valued. Empathy fosters these feelings by creating an environment where people feel safe to be themselves. In empathetic communities, individuals are more likely to share their stories, ask for help, and support one another. This mutual exchange of care and understanding strengthens the bonds between members and creates a sense of unity. Empathy also plays a crucial role in resolving conflicts and bridging divides. In any community, disagreements and misunderstandings are inevitable. However, when empathy is present, conflicts can become opportunities for growth and connection rather than division. By approaching disagreements with a genuine desire to understand the other person's perspective, we can find common ground and work toward solutions that honor everyone's needs. Building community through empathy isn't limited to close relationships or small groups. It can extend to society as a whole. Empathy can drive social change by encouraging us to care about issues that might not directly affect us. When we listen to the stories of those who are marginalized or facing injustice, empathy compels us to act. It inspires us to advocate for fairness, inclusion, and equality, and to create systems that uplift rather than oppress. At the same time, empathy and community building require intentional effort. It's not enough to passively hope for connection or understanding. We have to actively create opportunities for them. This might mean reaching out to someone who seems isolated, volunteering our time to help those in need, or participating in conversations that promote inclusion and respect. Small actions, repeated consistently, can have a ripple effect that strengthens the fabric of our communities. Ultimately, empathy is both a gift we give and a skill we cultivate. It transforms the way we see others and the way we see ourselves. When we prioritize empathy, we create communities where everyone feels valued, supported, and connected. And in these communities, individuals are empowered to thrive, not just because of what they receive, but because of what they give in return. By choosing empathy, we choose to build bridges instead of walls, to foster understanding instead of division, and to create a world where no one has to face life's challenges alone. The phrase "you are not alone" carries with it a deep, comforting truth that many of us need to hear at different points in our lives. It's a simple statement, but its power lies in the reassurance that no matter how isolated we may feel in our struggles, we are connected to others who understand and share our experiences. In times of hardship or emotional distress, it's easy to believe that our pain is unique, that no one else could possibly relate to what we're going through. But the reality is that no matter how isolating our experiences may seem, the human condition is marked by shared emotions, struggles, and challenges. We are all navigating life in our own ways, yet we are never truly alone in what we face. It's natural to feel isolated when we're going through difficult times, whether it's dealing with personal failure, loss, rejection, or simply the weight of everyday stress. The temptation to retreat inward, to bottle up our emotions, is strong. We convince ourselves that others have it easier, or that no one could possibly understand what we're going through. This is where the power of connection comes in. It's through reaching out and sharing our feelings, struggles, and vulnerabilities that we discover just how common our experiences are. By opening up, we not only allow others to offer support, but we also create the space for shared healing. The truth is, everyone faces moments of doubt, fear, or loneliness. While the specifics of each person's journey may differ, the emotions they evoke are universal. Whether it's a parent grappling with the challenges of raising children, an individual dealing with the pressure of career expectations, or someone who feels rejected or misunderstood, these feelings are shared by countless others. We might not always see it, especially when we're too focused on our own pain, but there are people who understand, people who have walked similar paths or who are currently navigating their own versions of the same struggles. Recognizing that we are not alone is also about realizing that there are communities, both physical and virtual, waiting for us to engage. Human beings are wired for connection, and when we open ourselves to it, we can find a network of people ready to listen, support, and empathize. Whether through friends, family, or online groups, there are spaces where we can share our stories without fear of judgment, where we can feel heard and understood. The simple act of being seen and acknowledged can make a world of difference, offering us the strength to keep moving forward. Yet, it's not just the people around us who help us realize that we are not alone. Often we find comfort in the stories of others, whether in books, movies, or songs that echo our own experiences. These narratives remind us that we are part of something larger than ourselves. The people who share their stories of overcoming adversity, of finding hope in the darkest times, serve as reminders that even in our most difficult moments, there is the possibility for growth, healing, and resilience. In fact, one of the greatest gifts we can give each other is the gift of vulnerability. When we share our experiences, when we admit our fears, our insecurities, or our struggles, we not only lighten our own load, but we also offer others permission to do the same. This creates a ripple effect, where one person's bravery to open up can inspire others to break their silence and reach out for support. In this way, the sense of isolation that so often accompanies suffering is shattered, and we begin to see the deep interconnection that binds us all together. Even when the world feels overwhelmingly large, it's crucial to remember that, in the grand scheme of things, we are part of a vast, intricate web of human experience. No matter how different our circumstances may be, there are always others who share our joys, our sorrows, and our hopes. And in recognizing this, we find strength, comfort, and a sense of belonging. We are not alone. We never have been, and we never will be. All it takes is the courage to reach out and recognize that, just like us, others are navigating this shared journey of life. Together, we can weather any storm.